Hi, we're WISER Systems. I'm Seth Holler, CEO, and today we have Andy Kerfonta, Director of Engineering. Today we want to talk about having WISER at multiple sites, and that brings up a couple of questions. With that said, Andy, do you want to set the scene here?
Sure. So something we hear a lot from customers and prospective customers is, okay, we can track in one building, one factory, but what happens if we have multiple buildings or even multiple sites? Will it work? Can I take my tags between buildings? So that comes up quite often because a lot of sites, it's not just going to be work in progress going from in one building. They're going to do something in one building, perhaps put on a truck and move it to another one. So that is something that we support.
So, unlike, say, GPS, once our tag goes outside of the building or outside of the mesh that's being tracked, it can't be tracked anymore, right? But the idea is that if it leaves one building which has a WISER mesh and goes into another building that has a WISER mesh, you can pick up kind of where you left off.
Right. And so there's a couple kind of parts to that. When it leaves one building, if you search for it just in that building, you'll see the tag position, the last read at that door, at the exit of the building. That'll be the last place it was seen. So you can at least tell, hey, it got to our exit. And you could even make a zone there and have some sort of notification. And then once it gets to the other building, the other mesh, it will pick up there. So you get both the where it left and where it comes in. And you can even search for it just in our app, say generically, and it will tell you it's in this building.
Okay, so we have an app. It gives you dots on a map, um, or dots on maps,
Right.
right? So the idea here is you'd have one map to track, say, your plant A and then your other map and plant B, but it's all on the same application that you can view and you can switch between the two, right? So, how does that work kind of on a technical level? What's going on behind the scenes to make these things work within a facility?
So the way it usually works in that case is the different arenas, the different setups will be installed as different Windows services, but on the same server. So you might have several of them running concurrently. And we use under the hood a database that's our cache, and that stores all the tag information, the places last seen, things like alternate ID and information. And so what you can do is share that cache between installations. And what it means is that it will be recording the latest read of the tag by arena. And so as it moves between them, the information comes with the tag. So if you give it a name or other information, but then the location is updated with the most recent one for that arena. So then they're all tied together.
Okay, so if I could rephrase what you're saying is you need to run kind of the service or the application in the background for each plant, and that creates the location data. But they have a shared database, if you
Mhm.
will, where that location data gets collected together. And that shared database is key because now the end user application can access that database to get that information, whether or not it's from one um, help me out, one plant or another
Right,
plant.
one building, one plant, one location, I guess. Yeah, and it's not just for location, like I said, it's also the information. So when you tag, say, a work order and you scan that work order, you don't want it to lose that when it moves to the next building. So that's what sharing that
Oh, I
cache
see.
between the different locations makes sure that not only location is updated, but that the tag information is updated. So if you just search for that work order in our app, it'll take you to that tag wherever it is. And so that's important because obviously you want that information to persist wherever
Right.
it goes.
The application or end application can just easily run two separate meshes with two separate databases that are talking to each other, right? But
Sure.
or as many as you want.
Sure.
But the key here is that that tag information isn't shared together, so it doesn't translate from one site to the other unless you have that shared database.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that you don't have to share the database. So you may have a collection of 3 buildings that do need to share tag information, and then you have another site entirely that doesn't, and that's okay. And it will show up as just a list in the app. You can choose which you connect to and which you look at. So you can kind of mix and match that way.
Okay.
Whichever need to share can be set up to share.
Okay. Um, I don't think I have any more questions. Is there anything else that you'd want to explain about how you can share information or share tags between sites?
I don't think so. I think we really covered it all there.
Okay, well, this version is a little more IT, operation specific. We appreciate everyone's time, and we'll talk to you later. Take care, everyone.
See you.